This is our science video.
Conduction is a transfer of heat through touching. For example, the stove and the pot. The stove is transferring heat through the pot to make the pot hot. Convection, the up and down movement of gases and liquids through the atmosphere. For example, hot air balloon. Radiation is the transfer of heat and through molecules in the air. For example, the sun. Alright, now we're going to talk about El Niño and La Niña. El Niño is responsible for basically flooding and rain all over the world. And La Niña is responsible for rain, snow in the west coast. Alright, so in this world there's natural processes that change the climate. Some examples are clouds, volcanic eruptions, ice and snow. So like the clouds would change the climate because if the clouds start building up, then it blocks the sun rays from coming in, so it reflects it back out, and that goes the same with the ice and the snow, because the snow is white, so the snow would just reflect it back out. And then with the volcanic eruption, it would be the same as the clouds, because it would be a big old cloud forming up in the sky that it would just reflect it back out, and the days would get colder.
Yo, what up? It's me, I guess. Alright, we got continental polars, right? And that comes from the continental polar section, so that's up on top of the world. And then we got continental tropic, and that comes from the land, but near the equator, you know? It comes up. And then we got marine polar, and that comes from the polar oceans, you know? It comes down from the polar oceans. And then, of course, we've got the marine tropic, and that comes up from the tropics, but it's water-based, you know? And that's all I gotta say. Jack out.
Spring is the change from winter to summer. It starts at the vernal equinox. It's when plants start to bloom and animals come out of hibernation. An example here is this bud right here going into a flower. Summer is the warmest season. During summer, the earth is tilted more towards the sun, so it receives more direct sunlight, and therefore the earth is warmer. During summer, a lot of the crops that we eat grow, like corn, squash, and red bell peppers. Winter is the coldest season. It's so cold because the earth tilts away from the sun. Even though it's closer, it receives less direct sunlight, which makes it colder. So you really need to bundle up to stay warm. And rabbits like this, sometimes their fur changes colors. Fall is the transition from summer to winter, and it's during the autumnal equinox. So during this time, it starts to get colder. Football season starts, and the leaves fall off the trees. This is my magic pot, and I'm going to show you the phase changes of matter. So this is my magic lid, and when I put my magic lid on, this glass of ice will change into a liquid. Liquid. Now that liquid is going to change to a gas. See? Gas. That's called evaporation. Then I'm going to change it directly into a solid. So gas into solid is called a deposition. So I put the ice back, and I'm going to change the ice right back into a gas. And that's called sublimation. And those are the phases of matter. So I'm going to talk to you about air pressure. Air pressure is the weight of the air pushing down on you. And air pressure comes in from all directions. So to demonstrate this, I've got this bottle right here. And there's no air pressure pushing down on top of the water, so the hole right here the water's not being pushed out the hole. But as soon as I open this up, and the weight of the air is on here, it starts to leak like that because of the air pressure pushing on top. But as soon as I put this back on, it stops. And that's a demonstration of air pressure. And a quick fact is the average air pressure around Denver is 12 pounds per square inch. The Coriolis effect is the deflection of wind as it goes across the Earth from the rotation of the Earth. So as the Earth spins, the wind gets deflected like so. And if the Earth was standing still, the wind would just go in a straight line like this. But since it's spinning, it deflects it this way. And so in the northern hemisphere, it always deflects like this. And in the southern hemisphere, it always deflects the same way. Except for if you're looking at it from this way, it's left if you're standing on top of the world from here, and it's right if you're standing on top of the world from the north. A type of cloud formation is frontal wedging, and that's when a group of cold air and a group of warm air, the warm air's got a lot of moisture in it, collide, and the warm air is popped up over the cold air, and as it rises, it cools, and that produces clouds after the water condenses, and then it rains. Another type of cloud formation is convergence clouds, and that's when two bodies of air, they come together and they push up. Two warm air masses come and they push up on each other, and as they cool up here, they condense, and then it rains. So a good example of this is in Florida. They've got two air masses that condense, and when it gets pushed up, and they have a lot of rain in Florida.
We're here to talk about the 5 different types of precipitation. The first and most common is rain. It's just when the cloud builds up with water vapor, turns into a cloud, and then it ends up falling down. And it just comes down in liquid form. Something like that. The second is snow. It's where when it builds up and then it falls, it's below freezing. So it comes down in liquid icicles. Somewhat like this. Then the next one is hail. It's when it comes down, and when it comes, there's wind, so it pushes up on it, and then it falls back down, and then it pushes up on it again, the wind. So then it keeps building up and keeps freezing over, and then it ends up falling in big chunks, like this. So the next one is sleet. Sleet is when it comes down in liquid form, but below is below freezing. So it comes down and kind of like a slush, like a slushy, something like this. Now the next is freezing rain, which I really couldn't find an example for, but it's when the rain falls and it's above freezing, so it just falls. And then but when it gets freezing, it freezes. It just freezes on anything and everything that's there. Those are the 5 different types of precipitation.
These are the layers of the atmosphere. This is the first layer. This is the troposphere. It's where we live. This is the second layer of the atmosphere. The stratosphere is directly above the troposphere. This is where weather balloons and planes fly. This is also where the ozone is located. This is the mesosphere. This is where meteors come to, and this is when they burn up.
These are the types of clouds. This is a cumulus. It's all puffy and piled up, like this cat. This is like a stratus cloud. This is flat and layered, like this cat. This cat is like a cirrus cloud, because cirrus clouds are very curly and wispy, and that's what her fur is like.
We're going to talk about thunderstorms. The first stage of a thunderstorm is the towering cumulus stage. It's when a cumulus cloud starts to form, but it forms upward, like in a vertical motion. The second stage is the mature stage. This is when the cumulus cloud is at its biggest. This is when you get hail and lightning and thunder and strong rains and heavy winds. The next stage is the dissipating stage. It's when it's passing over and it's almost done. There's just light winds and maybe just a little bit of sprinkles of rain here and there. Now we're going to talk about hurricanes. Hurricane is when warm air from the ocean comes up and meets the air on top of it if it's colder. That starts to swivel. And that brings on real heavy rains and winds and big tides. So as that moves towards land, all that stuff hits the land really hard, which causes floods and everything. But there's one piece in the hurricane is right in the middle. It's called the eye. And that's the most calm part of the hurricane.